Hello and welcome back to the Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi, dated 13th Feb 2025. Today again we will be discussing some important topics that has appeared in today's The Hindu and The Indian Express newspapers, which are very relevant for your exam. In our first topic, we'll try to deal with a peculiar question that should convicted persons be barred from contesting elections? Along with this discussion, we'll try to solve some prelims questions so that you get proper practice for your upcoming prelims 2025 examination. Then in our second topic, we'll try to deal with various dimensions of Office of Election Commission of India. After that, in our simplified section, we'll try to take up 5 articles and we will explain them in simplest language possible to enrich your understanding of the newspapers. Additionally, we have also incorporated some prelims pointers, which is going to be very important for your upcoming prelims 2025 examination. So have a look on them also and stay tuned. So, our first topic is, should convicted persons contest elections? The context of this topic is that the Supreme Court is hearing a batch of petitions led by Mr. Ashwani Upadhyay and others, which is seeking a lifetime ban on the persons who has been convicted for various offences. And this particular topic is related to your GS paper 2, Constitutional Bodies, Transparency and Accountability. We are living in a country of paradoxes where if there is a person who has been convicted for any offense, especially for some of the heinous crimes like murder, rape, etc., he might be ineligible to get a government job, but he might contest the elections and get elected to any of the public offices. And this is the condition which has been also highlighted by the data from Association for Democratic Reforms or ADR, which says that the 46% of newly elected member of parliament in the recently constituted Lok Sabha have some or other pending criminal cases against them. Out of 543 candidates, 251, which constitute 46%, have criminal cases against them, and 170 are those members who have some serious criminal charges pending against them. And how we are getting this data? It is because of the fact that after this Association for Democratic Reforms case, which came way back in 2002, it mandated the disclosure of the criminal records of all the candidates who are contesting elections in the Lok Sabha or in the state legislature. And that is the reason after this disclosure, which has been mandated by the Supreme Court, we get this data of all the criminal cases which is pending against all these members of parliament. And due to this rising criminalization of the politics which is happening, the more number of people who are getting elected who have the pending criminal cases, we are compromising on probity in the public life. And also the spirit of the democracy is also getting undermined because of the criminalization, increased criminalization which we are witnessing. If you talk about the disqualification from the membership of the House, Article 102 of the Constitution says that a person will be disqualified for being chosen or elected and or being a member of either house of the parliament if he holds any office of profit under the government of India or under the government of state, other than the office which has been declared by the law not to qualify its holders. So what this office of profit actually means? There is no law in India or in the Constitution which clearly defines what constitutes the office of profit. And the definition of the office of profit has evolved over the years, and the interpretation have also been made in various courts' judgment. An office of profit has been interpreted to be a position that brings to some office holders some financial gains or advantage or benefit. And in 1964, the Supreme Court ruled that there should be a test that will determine a person whether he holds the office of profit in the test of the appointment itself, and which are the factors which we will be considering to determine whether the person is holding office of profit. First of all, whether the appointing authority is the government or not, and whether the government has the power to terminate that appointment or not, and whether government determines the remuneration of that office or not, as well as what is the source of remuneration, whether it is from the consolidated fund of the states or consolidated fund of India or not. These tests help us in determining the office of profit. And The Parliament, under the Prevention of Disqualification Act 1959, it exempts various posts from disqualification, and time to time there has been various amendments which has been done in this particular act, and various new offices has been added in this particular law, and it has been amended 5 times till now. And various offices which has been kept outside the purview of the disqualification are, for example, Minister of State and the Deputy Ministers, the Parliament Secretaries and Parliamentary Under Secretaries, the Deputy Chief Whips in the Parliament, the Vice Chancellors of the universities, and the officers in the National Cadet Corps or the NCC and the territorial armies, etc. So these are the offices which has been kept outside the purview of the disqualification, and that is the reason there was a question that was asked from this topic in year 2019 itself, which says that the Parliament Prevention of Disqualification Act 1959 exempts several posts from disqualification on the ground of office of profit. This particular statement is completely fine. The above mentioned act was amended 5 times. This is also correct. The term office of profit is well defined in the Constitution of India. Now only this third statement is incorrect, and just by knowing that the office of profit is not defined in the Constitution of India, you can get the answer of this question, which is A1 and 2 only. And this is the thing I want to emphasize to you people, that there might be a case that by looking into any of the question in your actual prelims examination, you may have a feeling that I cannot solve this question, I cannot get the answer of this question. But my sincere request to you people, read that question at least twice, read all the statements that are given in that questions properly. There will be multiple questions which seems to be very difficult in the first instance, but still you will be able to get answer of that question by only using your common sense, by only using your logical reasoning, by only using your intuition which you got from the knowledge that you have accumulated with the classes, with the multiple revisions, with the mock tests that you have solved. For example, in this, if you will see in the Constitution, there are various terms which are not well defined. What is public order? What is public morality? What is budget? They are not well defined in our Constitution. And similarly, this office of profit is also not defined in the Constitution. Only by knowing about this particular statement, whether we know that whether it was amended 5 times or 7 times, we got the answer of this question. So there would be multiple questions which you will be able to solve by just reading the statements properly. So my sincere request to you people is that please read the questions whatever you are getting. Similarly, other disqualifications which has been provided under the Article 102 is that if the person has been of unsound mind and stand so declared by the competent court. What is this unsound mind? Which is opposite of sound mind, that the person who is taking the decision is not able to gauge the actions which he or she is taking. What will be the consequences of those actions that the person is going to take? Also, he or she is not able to make a proper rational judgment for his office which he or she is holding. Also, if he or she has been declared a undischarged solvent, means he or she has become incompetent to pay his liabilities. His assets is not complete or is not proper to fulfill his liabilities, which has been much higher, and that is the reason he has been declared an undischarged insolvent, that he will not be able to pay his liabilities. Also, if he or she is not a citizen of India or has voluntarily acquired the citizenship of a foreign state or is under any acknowledgement of allegiance or adherence to a foreign state. For example, if there is a war which is going on and there was a member of parliament who it has been proved that he was supporting the enemy country, then obviously he might lose his membership from the house itself. Also, if he or she has been disqualified by any law made by the parliament, or if he or she has been disqualified under the 10th schedule which was added after the 52nd constitutional amendment 1985. And under this 10th schedule, if there is a person who is voluntarily leaving his membership, or if he or she hasn't followed the directions for voting, or he has voted against the directions of the party, or if there is an independent member who is joining any political party, then he or she can be disqualified under the 10th schedule, and obviously he will be disqualified from the membership of the house also. Apart from that, then there is Representation of People Act 1951, which governs the actual conduct of the elections. Under this, the section 8 subclause 3 says that it bars a person from contesting elections for 6 years in addition to the period of conviction if he or she is convicted for 2 years or more under any offense. That if there was a person who has been convicted for any offense, let's suppose for the 3 years, then after 6 years from the release from the jail, he will not be able to contest election. Means total after 9 years, he or she will be able to contest the elections. Also, the section 11 of RPA Act 1951 is an exception, which says that the Election Commission can reduce this ban of 6 years, and which has happened in the case of the Chief Minister of the Sikkim, Mr. Prem Singh Tamang, who has been convicted for graft cases, but his ban of 6 years has been reduced to 13 months so that he become eligible for contesting election. Also, under this Lily Thomas versus Union of India case, earlier there was also an exception which was provided under this section 8 subclause 1, which says that if there is a person who has been convicted, a sitting member of parliament has been convicted for any offense, within 3 months, if he has appealed in the High Court, he will not be disqualified from the membership of the House. In this, the Supreme Court says that the lawmaker stands immediately disqualified on attracting a sentence of 2 years or more unless a High Court stays the conviction. If the High Court has stayed the conviction out of any new fact that has emerged out of new evidence that has emerged, in that case, he may not be disqualified, otherwise he will be disqualified. Also, they have struck down this section 8 subclause 4 of the RPA as unconstitutional, which provided a 3-month window to file an appeal and continue as a lawmaker until the case is disposed of. The Supreme Court further says it is violating the Article 14. It is violating the person who is convicted, who is going to contest the election, and the person who is already a member, and if he is convicted, he will still be able to continue his or her office. But if there is a person who has been convicted, he will not be able to contest election. And there is a difference between, this law is discriminating between the ordinary citizens who are trying to contest the election and the people who have already been selected or elected for the particular office. Then this particular question, which was asked in year prelims 2020, it says that according to Constitution of India, a person who is eligible to vote can be made a minister in a state for 6 months even if she is not member of legislature of that state. Again, this question. In this particular discussion, I have taken multiple prelims questions to give you some insights from this particular discussions, from these particular questions, which will help you to some extent in getting answers of some questions in your prelims 2025 examination. This was a very interesting question. For a particular person to vote, or to the right to vote, or the universal adult suffrage, that it says that any person who is above the 18 years of age, he can vote in capacity of being above 18 years of age. But to be part of a legislature of that state, to get elected, what is the minimum age requirement? That is the 25 years, right? And only if the person is eligible to be member of the state legislature, he or she can become the minister in that particular government of that state. So if there is a person who is of 18 years age, he is eligible to vote, but he cannot become the member of the state, that state legislature. He can obviously, then he cannot obviously become the minister. So first statement is incorrect. So you have to think beyond your Lakshmikant. You have to think beyond your traditional knowledge that you have got from your basic sources of the polity. Only then you will be able to solve these type of questions. Also, according to RPA 1951, a person convicted of a criminal offense and sentenced to imprisonment for 5 years is permanently disqualified from contesting an election even after his release from prison. That is also incorrect. There is no permanent disqualification. After the release, 6 years cooling period is there, and then the person can contest the election. So correct answer was D, neither 1 nor 2. So what are the arguments in support of ban on convicted person? The first is that it helps in maintaining the public trust. Public have this feeling, public have this trust, public have this assurance that the person who are getting elected, they are the people with probity. They are the people who have utmost integrity, and it helps in preserving the integrity of overall electoral system. Also, it deters the criminality, means it creates a deterrent effect, especially in the society where the crime is rising manifold, that the person will have this apprehension that if I will be convicted for any of the offenses, I might become disqualified, or I might become ineligible to get elected to certain public offices, and that is the reason I should not resort to any of the crime. So it may create a deterrence against the criminal behavior for those seeking the public offices. It also helps in upholding the democratic values. It ensures that the individuals of integrity and good characters are getting elected to the public offices, which reinforces the foundation of the democracy. Also, it may help in increasing the participation of youth in the electoral politics, because as of now there is a lot of money and muscle power that is involved in the elections of India. People like me and you, can we think of contesting any of the Lok Sabha elections? Obviously, we can think, we can file our nomination, we can stand, but the chances of getting elected is very low. Why? Because of the fact that this whole process of contesting election, winning election it involves lot of money and muscle power. But if there will be less criminalization in the politics, the people, the youth who got better connect with the people, who are able to ensure that trust in the minds and the hearts of the people who are voting in that particular election, that particular youth might get elected to the public office even without the involvement of much of money and muscle power. So it may help in increasing the participation of youth in the politics. Also, it can address the nepotism and the dynastic politics, because the people who are holding these public offices, and if there are they have some or other criminal tendency, so the people are not very much ready to go against them. Okay, and that is the reason this proverb that Raja ka beta Raja ban raha hai seems to be very true in this context, that the people who are already holding the election, they have the criminal cases pending against them, there is lot of fear in their area, and very less number of people are ready to contest against them, and that is the reason when son or the daughter of that person is standing to contest the election, he or she is winning. So if they become disqualified, so that might address the nepotism and the dynastic politics also. And it also aligns with other professions, that there has been various professions like in the government jobs, etc. There are bans that if the person is getting convicted for any of the heinous offenses, he might be ineligible to get a government job. Or if there is a person who has been the part of the government itself under any of the offices, he will be suspended first and he might be dismissed from the service also. So if we will go for the ban on the convicted persons, it also aligns with the other professions, other jobs, and which is also helping in making politics as a no exception. Also, there are various international precedent also. For example, several countries have stricter laws regarding convicted individuals holding public offices, especially in the United States, that if the person has been convicted for various heinous offenses, that makes them ineligible to contest elections for the various offices. Then there are also some people who says that no, there should not be any ban on the convicted persons. Why? First of all, they should be provided a proper opportunity for the rehabilitation and the reforms, that if they are coming out of the jail, why shouldn't they be given an opportunity to serve the people, to serve the society again? And if we will ban them completely, it will deny that individual a chance to reform and reintegrate into the society completely. Also, it is the voter choice. When we are saying that the person who have the criminal cases pending against them and they are time and again getting elected, it means we are undermining the voter choice. We are thinking, we are having this feeling, we are presuming that the voter who is going to cast his or her vote is not understanding, have no knowledge at all about the criminal cases and what could be the consequences if we'll give vote to that person who have the criminal cases pending against them. If that person knows that what he or she is going to do, he will go for the nota, or he will elect, or he will give his vote to any other person rather than giving vote to that person who have the criminal cases. So if we'll go for the complete ban, we are also undermining the choices of the voters, and there is also potential for abuses, that there may be some targeted criminal cases on the political opponents to deliberately make them disqualified for the future elections, and it may further impact the inclusive politics, and it might further impact the minorities who are thinking to contest the elections. Also, the disproportionate punishment. The person who has been convicted for any offense, he got the punishment in proportion of the offense he or she has committed. Now, if there is a further ban which is being done, or he has been resorted to the ban on the contesting election, this amounts to a disproportionate punishment. There was already a punishment which was given for that particular person for the offense he or she has committed. Now again you are giving a punishment that you are not eligible to contest the election. So this means that this particular punishment, which is beyond the convicted years, is disproportionate to the crimes which has been committed, especially for the less serious offenses like thefts, etc. And for example, someone convicted for a non-violent crime might face a lifetime ban from the politics, while someone convicted of a violent crime might be eligible to run again after serving their sentence. Okay. And there is also a lack of clear criteria that what amounts, which crime should be kept under a lifetime ban and which shouldn't be kept under the lifetime ban. Then also there are various subjectivity involved in the conviction process itself. So that is the reason the experts or the proponents who are against this ban are saying for these particular points. So what should be done? First of all, as a matter of first step, some of the heinous crimes like rape, etc. can be kept under the section of the those crimes that if there is a person who is getting convicted for this particular offense like rape, etc., then that person might be completely debarred from contesting elections in future. Also, the crimes which involved moral turpitude. For example, moral turpitude means the acts which are completely immoral, which are completely unethical, like raising the modesty of the woman, or the involving in some of the acts which involve untouchability or promotion of untouchability, etc. So if there is a person who has been involved in such kind of incidents, then that can be kept under the criteria that this person might be, or this person may be completely debarred from contesting elections in future. So as of now, as a matter of first step, some heinous crimes or selected crimes can be kept under the criteria of complete debar from the future contesting of elections. Also, there is need for ensuring that more public disclosure and the consensus is being built. That as of now, which has been also highlighted or the emphasized by the Supreme Court as well as the Election Commission of India, that all these details, that the number of pending cases, the type of pending cases, there should be advertisements in the leading newspapers, and that advertisement should be proper visible and it should get a proper space in the newspaper, so that the people can get a fair idea about the people who are contesting elections in their constituency, and they can make informed choices. Also, there is more need for the awareness generation among the voters through the social media, through the various platforms of the Election Commission of India, etc., so that the people can make informed choices. They can get an idea that the person whom they are going to vote, what are the pending cases, or what is the character of that person whom they are going to elect. Also, there is need for promoting youth in politics, and more and more the secondary socialization starting from the schools and the promotion of the politics in the school and the colleges itself can help in creating interest of youth in the politics. And when new blood will come in the politics, young blood will come in the politics, that will also help in undermining the money and muscle power involved in the politics, as well as it will help in curbing the criminalization of the politics. Also, there is need for revisiting this constitutional validity of the section 11 of the RPA Act 1958. Under this section 11, if the election commission wants, it is up to the whims and fancies of the election commission. If he wants that, he will reduce the ban of any of the person. He can reduce that ban from 6 years to some months or few years. Then it is against the Article 14. And there is high time that the Supreme Court looks for the constitutional validity for this particular section. Why this selective support to few individuals. This was all from this particular topic. This is a mains practice question that you people can write from this topic. So our second topic is the Election Commission of India. The context of this topic is that the Supreme Court is going to hear some pleas challenging the validity of the Chief Election Commissioner's appointment law. And this particular topic is related to your GS paper 2 constitutional bodies. So what this petition is all about, let's try to understand this story properly. That there was a famous judgment which came by the Supreme Court named Anup Barnwal versus Union of India 2023 case. Now, it actually provided for the mechanism for the appointment of the chief election commissioners and the election commissioners. Before this judgment, it was the complete domain of the executive. It was the complete overhand which was given to the executive. There was a panel of names which was suggested by the law ministry. And the Prime Minister was choosing one of the names as the election commissioners, and that person was being appointed as the election commissioner by the President. And the senior most election commissioners was taking the office of the chief election commissioners. And this particular process where the executive has a upper hand and there is no involvement of any committee, this Anup Barnwal versus Union of India 2023 judgment came, which was a judgment by the constitutional bench. In this particular judgment, the Supreme Court said that no, it will not be the complete discretion of the Prime Minister. Rather, there will be a committee who will be recommending the names, and that person would be finally appointed as the election commissioner by the President. And this committee will comprise Prime Minister of India plus the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha or the leader of single largest party in the Lok Sabha, plus it will be the Chief Justice of India or the CJI. Now, after this judgment, the Parliament came with a new law. And the law is the Chief Election Commissioner and the Election Commissioners Appointment, Condition of Service and the Terms of Office Act 2023, which tried to undo this particular judgment or the observations or the judgment which provided for this committee. As per this law which has been passed by the Parliament, yes, there will be a committee which will be recommending the names, and that person will be further appointed as the election commissioner or the chief election commissioner. But those names will be recommended by the committee, which will consist of Prime Minister plus Union Cabinet Minister plus leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha or the leader of the single largest party. In this particular case, this union government is having an upper hand in the appointment process of the election commissioners, and that is the reason this particular petition was filed with the Supreme Court, that to look after this particular law which was made by the Parliament after this Anup Barnwal judgment came, to look for the constitutional validity of this law. Now, this overall Office of Election Commission of India has been a very important topic for both your prelims and the mains examination. The election because of the fact that in your GS paper 2 the constitutional bodies are mentioned, and previously we have seen various questions from this topic, and this law as well as this appointment process, the Anup Barnwal judgment, has been in news constantly for last 1 year, and that is the reason I feel you might get one question in the upcoming prelims 2025 or the mains examination from this topic. The Election Commission of India is an independent constitutional body which is responsible for administering the free and the fair elections, and it also provides for the system and process of both the union and the state elections of India in order to uphold the true spirit of the democracy. The part 15, article 324 to 329 basically talks about all the provisions, all the aspects of the Election Commission of India. The article 324 says that the superintendent's direction and control of the elections to be vested in the Election Commission. The superintendence means the Election Commission of India will oversee overall the management as well as the conduct of the elections, and they can also give the directions to the state machineries, the chief electoral officer or the district electoral officers, etc. And they have this complete control over the elections which is happening, that they can ask for checking of vehicles, they can ask for any raid on any of the helicopters that is being used by the contesting elections, etc., to check whether that the people who are contesting elections, are they doing some malpractices or not. The Election Commission of India can also give some directions to control the malpractices which is involving the social media, etc. Now, in this case, you have to also understand what are the elections which are overseen by the Election Commission of India. The elections of the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, the elections of the state legislative assemblies, the elections of the state legislative councils, the elections of President and the Vice President of India. These all are overseen by the Election Commission of India itself. But the elections of the panchayats and the urban local bodies are overseen by the State Election Commission. Now, you people tell me in the comment box that which is the article which talks about the State Election Commission in the Constitution of India. Also, Article 325 says that no person to be ineligible for inclusion in or claim to be included in special electoral roll on grounds of religion, race, caste or sex, that there should be no discrimination between the people, everyone should be included. That is about the universal suffrage. Also, the Article 326 says that elections to the House of the People and to the legislative assemblies of the states to be based on the adult suffrage, that the people who are above the 18 years of the age, they can cast their votes. Also, these are the elections that we have talked that are conducted by the elections. If you talk about the structure of the Election Commission of India, originally it was a one-member election commissioner body, but after this Election Commissioner Amendment Act 1989, it became a multi-member body. Now, you people tell me in the comment box that who was the Prime Minister of India in 1989. Why I am asking this question is because of the fact that previously UPSC has asked one question, that who was the Prime Minister of India when the first amendment of the Constitution was done. And after this amendment, it was made a multi-member body. Now it consists of one chief election commissioner and such number of election commissioners as the president may from time to time fix. There can be a potential question in the prelims examination. They will tweak this or they will replace this word president with the parliament. That parliament may from time to time determine the number of the election commissioners, which will be incorrect. It is the domain of the president to decide the number of election commissioners. Also, as per this law, the appointment and the tenure of the commissioners are oversaw at this point of time. They have the fixed tenure of the 6 years or up to 65 years, whichever is earlier, and the salary and the conditions of the service of the chief election commissioners and the election commissioners, they are equivalent to that of the Supreme Court judge. Also, if you talk about the removal of this chief election commissioners and the election commissioners, the CEC, the chief election commissioner, can be removed in the same manner as that of Supreme Court judge, and the election commissioners can be removed after the recommendation of the chief election commissioner. So again, there is a disparity between the removal process of the chief election commissioner and the election commissioners. If we talk about various other limitations of the Office of Election Commission of India, the first is that they hasn't been given the sufficient legal powers. They have insufficient legal powers. What does it mean? That they have the power to register the political parties. They have the power to give status of national and the state parties. But they do not have the power to deregister any one political party if they are resorting to some of the malpractices, if they are not following the directions of the Election Commission of India. It is in a way that telling in your family that your parents will be giving you money, but they cannot tell you, they cannot give you direction that how will you spending the money. And they also do not have much control over the party finances, especially the expenditure, the election expenditure, the mounting election expenditure. As per some experts and some of the reports in the newspapers, the current Lok Sabha elections, almost 1 lakh crore was spent by the political parties to contest the elections. So there is lack of control by the Election Commission of India on these expenditure which is being done on the elections. Also, the limited resources that the Election Commission of India, there are a lot of vacancies in the secretariat that has been provided to the Election Commission of India. Also, their dependency on the state machineries further makes them difficult to ensure that there is proper integrity and probity in the elections, because the persons who are holding those positions to oversee the elections, they are part of that state machinery. So time and again there has been various experts who has been involved in the elections, who has been the part of Election Commission office, like the Mr. S.Y. Qureshi, etc. They have given their apprehension that this dependence on the state machineries further impacts the overall independent functioning of the Election Commission of India. Also, the expenditure of the secretariat is not charged, or the expenses of the Secretariat of the Election Commission of India is not charged on the Consolidated Fund of India, rather they are voted by the Parliament of India, which further affects the functioning, that they are dependent on their voting of the Parliament itself. Also, the appointment process, as of now, there is no objective criteria that who are the persons who will be qualified to become the election commissioners and the chief election commissioners. The current chief election commissioner, Mr. Rajiv Kumar, was the finance secretary. He was part of the government, and just after one day or few weeks he became the chief election commissioners. So in the majority of the time, people who are part of the services, especially the Indian Administrative Services or the IAS, they are becoming the chief election commissioners and the election commissioners. So there is lack of objective criteria to become the election commissioners or the chief election commissioner, or there is lack of objective criteria. So this further creates a lack of transparent system. Also, there has the Election Commission of India has been hasn't been very effective in addressing the malpractices involved in the fake news, in the paid news, the social media monitoring, with the emergence of the technologies which is affecting the voter choices. That, for example, in one of the states there is election which is going on, which is happening, and on the social media, if there is lot of advertisement which is going on, obviously in the state that particular app cannot be banned, that social media app cannot be banned in that state. So if the people are witnessing, people are looking after various advertisements, various opinion molding videos or opinion molding content on the social media before they are going to cast their votes, obviously that is impacting their voter choices. So that has been one of the further major issue which the Election Commission of India is finding very difficult to address, that is the digital revolution that we saw. Also, what should be done? What should be the way forward? First of all, there is need for strengthening the legal framework, that there should be a proper powers that should be provided with the Election Commission to address the malpractices that are involved, to address the huge amount of money, the unaccounted money that is involved in the electoral process, and they should also be given the power to deregister with proper checks and balances. Also, there is need for enhancing the Election Commission of India's autonomy as well as the resources, that the vacancies in their secretariat should be filled properly. The expenses on their office should be further made charged on the Consolidated Fund of India. And also there is need for strengthening the ECI's enforcement powers, that as of now they have the limited powers of the punishing or taking punitive actions to the political parties or to the candidates who are contesting elections. So they should be given proper enforcement powers, that they can take some punitive actions on the political parties, on the people who are contesting elections, who are not following the norms or the ethical norms of the elections. Also, there is need for ensuring there is parity between the chief election commissioners and the election commissioners. They should be given proper powers. There should not be a case that election commissioners can be removed by the recommendation of the chief election commissioner only. Also, there is need to address other issues like restriction on the retirement appointments. They can become any of the governor of any of the states, or they can take up further jobs as a vice chancellor or other jobs under the government of state, any of the government of state, or any of the job under the government of India. So when there will be no restriction on the post-retirement benefits, obviously it creates apprehension that they might be involved in some of the decisions which may be biased. This has been highlighted by various experts. Along with that, there is need for ensuring that there is objective criteria, there is timely appointment of the election commissioners and the chief election commissioners, and there should be also involvement of more technological integrations, for example C-Vigil app, etc., which has been launched by the Election Commission to ensure that the malpractices are addressed properly. So those kind of technological interventions needs to be further improved. Now there is a question, the practice question, just to give you one of the insights for your prelims examination, that which of the following expenditures are not charged upon the Consolidated Fund of India? I request you people to comment the answer of this question. I am very sure that there would be a substantial number of students who will make mistakes in this particular question. Why? Because there are various catch in the options given in this particular question. So please give the answer of this question and read every statement properly. The first formula or the first insight I gave in the first question that I discussed, that read all the statement and all the options given in the questions carefully. Even if you will follow this advice of mine, believe me, you will be able to reduce your silly mistakes by at least 5 questions in the actual examination. And understand one thing very clearly: if there is a person who is finding it difficult to clear the prelims examination, is not because of the fact that some 20-30 difficult questions are being asked in the prelims examination. He or she is finding it difficult to clear the prelims examination is because of the fact that he made lot of silly mistakes in easy questions or moderate level questions, some 40-50 questions which were doable. They have done lot of mistakes, lot of silly mistakes in those questions, like they didn't read the statement properly, they didn't read the question was asking not correct, they have selected the correct option. So if you read the question properly, even then you will minimize your silly mistakes, which will increase your chances for clearing the prelims examination manifold. Then a mains practice question from this topic that you people can write. In our simplified section, our first topic is what does law say about obscenity? And this particular topic is related to your GS paper 2, government policies and interventions, and this has appeared in today's Indian Express page number 14. So if you are following the social media, as of now you have ample amount of idea about the controversy, about the background of this case. There is a comedian with the name Samay Raina who was running a show with the name of India's Got Latent, and many of you would have watched various videos of that comedian also. In one of that episodes, he brought various other judges, various other people, and some of the comments that they did in that episodes, that had hurted the sentiments of the various people, and they have been called as obscene. And that is the reason, as of now, the videos of that India's Got Latent has been deleted from the YouTube, and there seems to be a ban on that episodes as well as on that show also. Now the context is that the Assam police on Monday registered a complaint against Mr. Ranveer Allahabadia, the founder of YouTube channel Beer Biceps, for allegedly obscene comments he made during a guest appearance on the YouTube show India's Got Latent. And the comedian Samay Raina, the show's host, was also named in the complaint, which included the charges of obscene acts under the section 296 of Bharatiya Nyay Sanhita 2023 BNS, which was earlier the Indian Penal Code. Also, they are currently under investigation by Mumbai Cyber Police also. Now, what this law which govern the offense of obscenity in India, the section 294 of the BNS punishes those who sell, import, export, advertise or profit from obscene books like comics, like digital PDFs of obscene comics, etc. The paintings, figures and other materials that involves videos also. It also punishes the display of obscene content in electronic form as a video or other form. The section describes obscene material as something which is lascivious or appeals to be prurient interest, meaning overtly and excessively sexual, or which would tend to deprave the corrupt person who are likely to read, see or hear the matter contained or embodied in it. Now, there is a issue that is involved in this particular definition or the category of the obscene material. For some person, there can be some video or some expression which may not be obscene, but for some people that can be obscene. So this subjectivity involved in this categorization of various content as obscene or non-obscene, the further amplifies this issue, that how to balance the right to freedom and speech expression and how to curb this obscene content. The violation of this section 294 can be punished with up to 2 years imprisonment and fine of 5,000 for the first time offenders. In the event of subsequent or second conviction, one can be slapped with the prison sentence up to 5 years and a fine up to 10,000. Similarly, in the IT Act 2000, the section 67 also try to control the publish and the transmitting obscene materials online. are regulated by the section 67 of IT Act 2000 and the section 296 of BNS, under which both the comedians and the Mr. Allahabadia has been charged. That says that whoever to be annoyance of other does any obscene act in the public place, sings, recites or utter any obscene songs, ballads or words in or near any public place shall be punished with imprisonment or up to 3 years or months and or a fine up to 1,000. Also, in March 24, the Supreme Court has quashed the proceeding against the creator of web series College Romance under section 292 of the IPC and section 67 of the IT Act. The Supreme Court applied the community standard test and it said that while the literal meaning of the terms which are being used may be sexual in nature and they may refer to sexual act, their use does not arouse sexual feeling or lust in any viewer or ordinary prudence and common sense. Rather, the common use of these words is reflective of emotion of anger, rage, frustration, grief or perhaps the excitement. For example, if you are getting good marks or if you scored 150 marks in any of the mock test, out of excitement, one abuse can come out of your mouth. Or if some of your friends have cleared this examination, out of excitement, some abuse or some sexual word can come out from your mouth. Or even out of anger, if your friend have hurted you, or you are just frustrated out of some situation, some abusive words can come out of your mouth. So again, that is not completely obscene as per this community standard test which was applied by the Supreme Court. Also, there are various other acts or the laws like IT Act 2000 which governs the obscene content, section 67A. It deals with the punishment for publishing or transmitting sexually explicit material in electronic form. Section 67B deals with the punishment for publishing or transmitting of the material depicting children in sexually explicit acts, etc. in electronic forms. Then indecent representation of women, Prohibition Act 1986, which prohibits and punishes the indecent represent of women through advertisements, etc. the hoardings that you people saw on the roads, on the highways, etc. The Cinematograph Act 1952, it has empowered the Central Board of Film Certification or CBFC to regulate and certify films to ensure they do not contain obscene or offensive content. For example, some of the content where a lot of sexual scenes are involved or a lot of violence is involved, they get a certificate from the CBFC that can be watched by the people above age of 18 years only. Then this balancing between the freedom of speech and expression as well as obscenity is a difficult and subjective task. Obscenity often tests the boundaries between the freedom of expression as well as the societal morality, that what is right, what is wrong, what is an act of expression, what is a complete obscene content. So this balance between the two, the subjectivity involved in these two creates a lot of difference. Next topic is India, Middle East, Europe corridor, and this is related to your GS paper 3 infrastructure, and this has appeared in today's Indian Express page number 7. Okay, this is related to infrastructure. Now the context is that India and France on Wednesday announced that they would continue to work closely to implement this India Middle East Europe corridor project, which was signed at the MOU for this was signed on the sidelines of G20 summit which held in New Delhi, and the project proposes to connect India to Europe through the sea and the land routes. You can see from this diagram that they want to connect India to Europe, okay, through various sea routes as well as through various rail routes, right? And you have to understand also one thing, that a discussion on this project was held during the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 2-day visit to the France, where he spoke at the Paris AI Action Summit and held talks with the President Emmanuel Macron. Also, the two leaders recalled the launch of this India Middle East Europe corridor on the margins of G20 summit held in New Delhi 2023, and they have agreed to work together to on a more close basis on implementing the initiative. And there has been MOUs which has been signed by the leaders from India, European Union, France, Germany, Italy, Saudi Arabia, UAE and US at the G20 summit. The aim of this particular corridor is to ensure that there is a multimodal connectivity and to develop infrastructure of ports, railways, roads, sea lines, pipelines to enhance trade between India and Arabian Peninsula, as well as to the Mediterranean region and Europe. As of now, they have to completely either follow this route of Suez Canal to go to access the various areas of the Europe. But if this connection will be there, it will help us in better accessibility of the Gulf countries, the countries of the Mediterranean region, as well as the countries of the Europe, which will help us in improving our trade, as well as it will help in further infrastructure development across these corridors. There are two separate corridors. One is the eastern corridors, which is connecting India to Gulf, okay, India to Gulf, and the northern corridor is connecting Gulf to the Europe. And this part of Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment, PGII, which was announced in 2021 on the sidelines of the G7 summit in UK, and which is seen as an alternative or counter to China's Belt and Road Initiative, or the BRI, that the countries or the members of the G7 are trying to develop one of the other option or the counter to the Belt and Road Initiative of the China. Our next topic is that the retail inflation eases to a 5-month low of 4.31%. This is related to your GS paper 3 inflation, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu page number 1. The context of this topic is that after a consistent high retail inflation or the consumer price index, which was 5.22% in December 24 and 5.1% a year ago, we have seen a ease in that retail inflation. It has come to 4.31% in the January. Also, the rise in food prices had decelerated, which was on an accelerated phase for the third successive month, to 6% from 8.4% in the preceding month. Initially, we have seen a very high food inflation, where various supply side reasons were one of the main causes for that high food inflation, like the incessant rainfalls, droughts, etc. The transportation issues, like hikes in the prices of the diesels, petrols, etc. And the low shelf life of the products, lack of proper supply from the farms, etc. These were some of the major reasons why we have saw such a high food inflation, apart from the decreasing purchasing power and the low demand by the people. But the prices of edible oils and the fruits had flared up sharply in the last month. Also, the price rise faced by the urban consumers in January dropped to 3.8%, below the central bank's 4% median target of the inflation, which is the target given by the government for the MPC to ensure. And for rural consumers, the price rise remained above the median target of 4.64%, but it is down from the December 5.8%. So you have to understand that the urban inflation has eased as compared to the rural inflation. Also, the latest inflation figures were reported just after the Reserve Bank of India moved to slash interest rate by 0.25 percentage point. That happened on the last Friday, and it was well covered on the Analyst also, on the premise that inflation is declining and will soften to 4.2% in 25-26, while growth need more processing. You have to understand that decrease in the repo rate leads to more liquidity in the economy, and if the inflation will be very high, this decrease in the repo rate will further amplify the liquidity in the economy. That might further lead to high inflation in the economy, and that is the reason the repo rate was declined on the premise, or there was decrease. We have witnessed a decrease in the repo rate after 57 months on the premise, on this surety, on this hope that inflation will decline in the upcoming quarters, in the upcoming months, and for whole year it will be near to 4%, which is the target of the RBI. Now, some prelims pointers that wholesale price index, what is it? It represents the price of the goods and services at wholesale stage, and the goods which are sold in bulk and traded between organizations instead of consumers, instead of the final consumers. Whereas the consumer price index, it tracks the change in the retail price of goods and services which households purchase for their daily consumptions, like chocolates, biscuits, etc. And the base year for the CPI is 2012, and this NSO, or the National Statistical Office under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation comes with this CPI, and the Office of Economic Advisor under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry releases this WPI. And this wholesale price index base year is again 2011, 12. There are some primary articles, fuel and power, as well as the manufactured products which are part of the wholesale price index. In the CPI, the food and fuel component is comparatively high as compared to the WPI. Then we have the PPI, which measures the wholesale price index from the point of view of the producers of goods and services by tracking prices at different stages of the production, which is called as the producer price index. And it looks at inflation from the viewpoint of the industry and businesses and measures price changes before consumer purchases the final goods and services. That it helps us in gauging the idea that what is the increase in the cost of production, what is increase in the cost of the raw materials, what is increase in the cost of various inputs that are being used for the production of various goods and services. Our next topic is the Chief of Defence Staff, which is related to your GS paper 3 defense, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 11. And we have also got one question from this Office of Chief of Defence Staff in our prelims 2024 examination. So the Chief of Defence Staff, Mr. Anil Chauhan, has said that Army has to evolve new concepts, doctrines and organizations, culture and the process to align itself with the emerging trends in the warfare and the battlegrounds to ensure that they are battle ready to deal with any kind of contingency. Means we have to ensure that technological integration are happening properly. The war of 21st century or the upcoming wars will not be fought with the guns and by the traditional army men. Rather, it will be a war which will be fought on the technological front, which will be fought on the digital front. That there will be cyber attacks that will happen. There will be drone attacks that will happen. What we have witnessed in the Russia-Ukraine war, what we have witnessed in the Israel-Hamas issue, which was happening few months back, that there will be less involvement of the persons and more involvement of the technology, and there is high need that India also takes up this issue, understand this issue, and we integrate technologies, upcoming technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, etc., so that our military is ready to deal with any kind of contingency which may happen in future. This Office of Chief of Defence Staff was created in year 2019 after the recommendation of Lieutenant General D.B. Setkar committee, and this committee is very important for your mains examination also, that various recommendations are quoted in your mains answers to enrich your quality of the answers. The aim of this office was to foster greater operational synergy between the three services and to keep the inter-services friction to a minimum. Whatever the issues that are being faced by one service with regard to the working of another service, there should be a proper communication between these three services, three service chiefs, with the help of the CDS, so that the friction involved in the three services remains very minimal. Also, the Chief of Defence Staff will be head of the Department of Military Affairs, which has been created under the Ministry of Defence. Also, he is the single point military advisor to the Defence Minister on the matters which involve all the three services. And they have the authority in prioritizing inter-service procurement decisions as permanent chair of the Chief of Staff Committee. That what will be the items which will be procured, bought, etc. for the needs of the three services. Also, he has been vested with the authority to provide directives to all the three chiefs, but there is no command authority over any of the forces. He cannot command to any of the three services chiefs. Also, CDS is the first among equals, means he enjoys the rank of secretary within the Department of Defence and his powers will be confined to only the revenue budget. Also, he performs an advisory role in the Nuclear Command Authority. You people tell me in the comment box that who is the head of the Nuclear Command Authority. This was the question in the prelims 2024 examination. By only knowing about this option 2, that he exercised military command or the command over the three service chiefs, just eliminate this option and you get the answer of this question. So similarly, just use the elimination method, elimination techniques. Still, that is very relevant in the current examination than the last examination which happened in 2024. Next topic is this P-8I aircraft. That the context is that India may revive plan to procure 6 more P-8I aircraft from US, and the talks may happen on the sidelines of the recent visit by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi to the United States. And this particular topic is related to your GS paper 3 defense, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 11. So the context is that India is looking to revise the proposal to procure 6 more P-8I long-range maritime patrol aircraft from the US, and the matter is expected to figure in talks between Prime Minister Modi and the US President Donald Trump. This P-8I is developed by a big giant company of the US, that is Boeing, to replace the US Navy P-3 fleet, and it is a long-range multi-mission maritime patrol aircraft, and India was the first international customer of this P-8I aircraft. The features of this aircraft is that it is equipped with long-range anti-submarine warfare, anti-surface warfare, intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance to check for to get an idea that who are present in any of the area, and in support of the broad area maritime and littoral operations. With its high speed and high endurance of about 10 hours, the aircraft is capable of thrusting a punitive response and maintaining a watch over India's immediate and extended areas of interest like LOC, Northeast states, etc., and other bordering countries like Myanmar, Bangladesh, etc. This was all from today's Analyst. Thank you very much. All the very best. Keep studying.